Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my backyard. Today is August 17th and this is my weekly shop update. So starting out here, let's have a look at the sawmill and how far I've gotten in the last few days. Now the first video on the mill will be out probably tomorrow, Thursday or Friday. I have a little bit of editing to do left on that, but overall it's going really well. A good subtitle or alternate title for that video will be Matt Drills a Lot of Holes. So all of the cross members, all 9 of them, have all 6 holes drilled and tapped for the stainless steel runners that will go on top of them. And then the underside of the connecting rails and all the way down the long rails all have holes and nuts welded to them for the leveling bolts. So it's going really well, and all the hole drilling and stuff is going to be in that first video. In the second video we'll get into welding the nuts and then doing all the welding on the frame. So I'm at the point now with the frame where I'm going to start leveling it and shimming it to get the whole thing flat. I don't have a work surface this big to make something flat on top of, so I'm going to be making a flat surface out of nothing essentially, and I'm going to be doing that the same way that I did with my workbench when I flattened that. I'll be running a string from corner to corner, and when that string intersects perfectly in the middle, these 2 side rails will be in the same plane, so therefore the whole surface will be flat. Now that's good and all, but when I actually start welding this together, there's obviously going to be some distortion. So I'm going to be fighting that a little bit. I do have a strategy, but I hope anyone out there with a lot of welding experience, anything like this, can kind of give me some feedback. My plan at this point is to go fairly slow with the welding and zigzag back and forth to help balance things out as I go. So I was thinking that if I start on this corner, I would weld like an inch bead on this corner on the bottom, and then start over there and weld an inch bead at the top vertically and kind of zigzag back and forth, and I'll have a few more cross members in here. So hopefully as I'm welding, those things will equal each other out and this thing will stay flat. As I'm welding, I'm going to leave those strings attached so I can watch the frame to see if it is distorting at all as I go. But that's my plan right now. Should be pretty interesting the next few days. Once the thing gets welded up, it's going to be stupid heavy. So a quick update on the farmhouse table. I have been fighting the rain a lot the last few weeks. Every single time it rains, something gets wet, and then it's got to dry, and then you can't apply finish before it rains, because if it rains without the finish fully cured, then you got problems with that. So it's been a really slow process, but the underside of the tabletop, this side here, is all ready to go. This is 4 coats of Epiphanes on it, and I'm going to start trying out the Epiphanes matte finish, which is a top coat that will flatten this sheen out a lot. I'm going to try it on the bottom side first in case for some reason I don't like it. But other than that, the top is sealed and can be out here permanently. The base I was able to get glued up this last week, and on that whole base assembly I used a drawboard Morrison tenon, and I got a lot of comments on Instagram. A few people wanted to see a little more information on how that goes together, so I have a little demo for you about draw boring. So pretend for a moment this is a well-executed Morrison tenon joint. The idea of the drawboard Morrison tenon is that a dowel will go through both the mortise and the tenon and pin it in place, but there's a slight difference here, and that's in the way the hole is drilled. If you cut this in half, you can see that the hole in the tenon is actually offset towards its shoulder. That means that as a dowel gets driven through this hole, it's going to apply pressure to the front area here of this material and pull the whole thing into the socket. The dowel will have to bend through here a little bit, but this is going to exert a lot of force, and it's going to pull these shoulder lines really, really tight. The other thing that's really nice about this whole system is you don't need clamps to put this together. So you have a large assembly where you don't have clamps big enough to hold that piece together as it's drying. You don't have to worry about that. All you have to do is drive a peg through and you can let the glue dry. The other really nice thing about this system is that when you dry fit these pieces together and you mark your hole locations, that's going to set the exact orientation for those pieces and alignment and all that. So when you take it apart, put glue on it, and then drive the peg in, that peg is going to pull that workpiece into exactly the same position, so you don't have to worry about if that piece wants to kind of move off to one side or something. It's always going to return to the same position as it was when you have a dry fit. Viewer projects time. First up this week is Jurre with a wooden pen tray. This was made from a piece of wood that he had left over from a desk lamp that he made. Jurre has an awesome video over on his YouTube channel. He does some really nice shaping on this thing. Definitely check it out. Next is the Keepsake Box by Aaron. And just look at that ridiculous figure on there. Aaron's going to be building a toy box for his niece, and he built this box to kind of get an idea of what he likes in the overall design, so when he scales it up to his toy box size, he has an idea of how to make it. And he says he included a third picture with his hand in it for a size reference. Next up is a walnut coffee table by Sevada. This was his first attempt at making furniture, which just blows my mind. It's solid walnut with a curly maple drawer. He said the project took just over a month to build as he was learning at every step. This was his first time doing Morse and tenon as well as dovetails. Just incredibly, incredibly amazing. Next is the Krenov style cabinet by John. The base is cherry, and he also made the pulls out of some ambrosia maple. Lastly this week is a bassinet by DJ. He said, here's a version of your bassinet. He made it out of walnut with maple just in the end panels. It was put together using pocket screws and finished with Danish oil. So a really big announcement this week. I'd like to welcome Triton Tools as a sponsor to my channel here, and I am super excited about that. They have been amazing to work with, and they just really get it. So I'm just super thrilled to have them backing me. So with any announcement of a sponsorship deal, people always want to know, well, things are going to change, right? And yes, things are going to change, but let me tell you exactly what's going to change. First of all, my tools are going to change colors. They're going to go from whatever they were before to orange. You're also going to see me using some tools or having some tools in the shop that I didn't previously have, like a belt sander. I've never had one of these. And lastly, the biggest change that I'm the most excited about is that due to the revenue from this deal, I'm able to afford more childcare hours for my son, which means that I'll have more time to work. I've never been more excited to have more time to work, I've never been more excited to work more. So I'll have more time, which means I'll have more ability to put out more stuff, more content, and just all that stuff. So looking forward to that. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff coming up in the next few months, and I'm really excited about everything that's coming up and all the work I have to do still, but that's the fun part, right? So another big thing that came about as part of this is I'm going to be at the International Woodworking Fair in Atlanta. Yes, next week. The IWF show in Atlanta next week. I will be there the 25th through the 27th, I believe, the Thursday through the Saturday, and I'll be hanging out at the Triton booth and walking around the show. So if you're in the Atlanta area and you're planning on stopping by the show, see if you can find me. I'd love to meet you. Or if I met you already, I'd love to see you again. So that's about all I have for this week. Thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I talked about today or anything here in my shop, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.